Hey guys, thanks for tuning in. My name is Sean, and today we're going to be talking about the Dali Zensor 1 bookshelf loudspeakers. Now, before I even begin to talk about that, I first need to make it clear that this review is being done in one take with no script, which means I kind of hope this review doesn't suck. So, with that said, let's first talk about the company that makes these loudspeakers, and the company's name is Dali, which is an acronym that stands for Danish Audiophile Loudspeaker Industries. Now, they've been in business since 1983, and they have a great presence in Europe and a reasonable foothold here in North America. And one of the things that's really put them on the map is the fact that they design from the ground up their own parts. So, let's take, for example, these speakers. This tweeter that you see here, the woofer that you see here, and even the binding posts are designed and manufactured by Dali. And I think it's pretty cool when a manufacturer doesn't really rely on a third party to supply the parts for their own product. That definitely gives them certain advantages within the marketplace. So, on that note, let's talk about the loudspeakers themselves. So, these are going to be the Dali Zensor 1s, and these serve as the entry point to Dali's lineup. Now, they're a very simple two-way monitor. It's compact, it's rear ported, it has a clip thingy, that's the official name for it, a clip thingy for mounting them onto your wall. And they're very well made, and it's just a very simple design. Now, these retail for $500 in the United States, or North America, I should say, and they go for around 270 or so euro, and that actually makes them a particularly amazing value for those of you in the EU. Now, I'm not really going to go into detail as far as the specifications are concerned. Honestly, that stuff's kind of boring to me. I'm just going to put that down in the description, and you guys can look it over if you want to. I'm more interested in talking about the sound, so with that said, let's talk about how they sound. And in a nutshell, when Dali made these, they were really hoping to get a speaker that gives you a taste of what high-end is all about for a fairly affordable price. And honestly, guys, I think they did a great, just a phenomenal job. This speaker, what I love so much about them is the fact that they're just so balanced for the money. And to give you a little bit of context, what I mean by balanced is typically at this price point, you find two types of speakers. You find the super warm and rich and romantic sounding speakers that sound pleasant with everything, but they homogenize all of the music that you listen to. So it doesn't matter if you listen to jazz, classical, rock, metal, it all sounds like it came from the same recording studio. So yeah, it's pleasant, but it's kind of boring and again, homogeneous. And then on the other side, you have manufacturers that try to voice their speakers to be very impressive. So the treble's boosted up to make it sound like it has tons of detail. The bass is super thick to make it sound like it's just this huge monstrous speaker for a pretty good price and usually at a pretty small size. And the problem with that is not only does it sound pretty unnatural, but it'll usually start sounding very fatiguing over time. So it may impress you in the store, but once you get it home, you might start to get tired of it. Dali chose to go somewhere in between that approach. What they have is a very articulate, very clean, very neutral sounding speaker, for the money at least, but it's also very, very fun to listen to. And you can listen to just about anything on these speakers and you'll probably enjoy what you hear if you're looking for something in this range. So I'm going to start talking about the things that I think this speaker does very well at. And the first thing is going to be is treble. If anything, that might be its most salient and impressive attribute for the money. I think Dali did a fantastic job with this tweeter. Getting treble right is a difficulty almost no matter what price point you're looking at, but especially in the affordable range. And Dali struck a fine balance here between making a top end that's very approachable. It's not overly harsh or overly rough, but it's not overly smooth. And what you ended up with is an articulate presentation. There's plenty of air, plenty of detail, but it's not over the top. It doesn't render poor recordings unlistenable. But at the same time, it's just detailed and transparent enough to really reward you whenever you play great recordings through them. And it's so tough to do at this price point. And Dali really did a great job here. And one thing I also appreciate, since I'm kind of showing off the front here, is the implementation of the woofer here. They didn't try to make it sound like this big gigantic speaker with huge gargantuan amounts of bass. Instead, this speaker is voiced to be very quick, clean, articulate, and it's all about accuracy over quantity, and I really appreciate that. The speaker doesn't try to be something that it's not, and I think that's absolutely wonderful. Now, the next thing that this speaker does really well is imaging. This thing casts out a huge soundstage, and it does a really good job of pinpointing instruments within here to space. So this is great, especially for those of you who like to get up and move around as you're listening, or if you like to invite friends or family over for movie night or music night or whatever the case may be, and you want to make sure that everyone gets a good experience. These speakers do a great job of that. Now, another thing is that they're very efficient and they're easy to work with. So it's always easy to recommend a speaker that will work with receivers just as well as will work with hi-fi components. They'll work in small rooms and big rooms, low ceilings, high ceilings. It's just such a versatile product. Now, I do believe that there's a recipe for getting the best out of them, but I'll get to that just in a little bit. Now, I went over most of the good things about the speakers. Let's talk about the things they don't do well. And in a nutshell, most of the things they don't do well is just a result of their physical size. They're a fairly small pair of speakers. So if you like a lot of bass, you either need a bigger pair of speakers or you need to get a sub. If you like to listen really, really loud, well, you probably need a bigger pair of speakers. Well, actually, in that case, no, you just need a bigger pair of speakers. So it's a pair of compact monitors. Keep your expectations within their particular size and price point. Now, subjectively speaking, and on a more nitpicky side, if I could change one thing about these speakers, and one thing only, it would be the upper mid-range. I do believe the upper mid-range is just a little bit thin, a little bit hollow. I think it could use a little bit more meat on the bone, but it's not really anything that I consider to be damning. In fact, if you're careful with placement, careful with the equipment that you connect to these things, you pretty much eliminate that issue. And that actually leads me to tips. So let's just say you're watching this right now and you're thinking to yourself, man, this sounds exactly like what I want. Whether it's for a desktop rig or whether it's for your living room or for your main system, whatever the case may be. If you really want to maximize what these speakers can do, I would first voice them with a warm sounding component. So if you're going to be using a receiver, go with Marantz. Go with something like Denon. Try not to go with something like Anki or Pioneer. And I have nothing against Anki or Pioneer, they just have a sound that might not bode too well with these. Now, on the hi-fi component side of things, if you can find an affordable, good sounding tube amp, these do wonderful. In fact, I paired them with a 16 watt per channel Kinpu integrated amp, and the combination is just fantastic. Likewise, they also like warmer sounding solid state components. So just keep it like that and you'll be good. Also, like any pair of small speakers, I wouldn't put them further out than say 4 feet from the rear wall. They really do like back wall reinforcement for the bass, just to sound fuller and all that good stuff. So 4 feet would probably be the max in most situations, which I don't think is going to be a problem for most of you, but it still bears mentioning. So with that said, now that I'm stumbling over my words here, in conclusion, I think Dali did a great job with these speakers. They are very well rounded. They're very neutral for the price. They're very open. They're very articulate sounding, and they're very easy to work with. Now, as I said before, if you want this romantic sounding product, this isn't for you. But if you do like that open and engaging sound, and you are on a budget, and you can accommodate, say, a pair of small monitors, it's really hard for me not to recommend for you to check them out. Dali did a great job with them. They should be proud. And with that said, I think I've said all that can be said about them, actually. So thanks for watching, guys. And until next time, peace.